This new game folks are playing is superb, so they're saying. A magical time, simply sublime, Super Mario Bros. Wonderland.
Years ago, things were dismal. Wii U sales were abysmal. Though some games were alright, we couldn't keep up the fight. Super Mario Bros. Wonderland. In Nintendo's attempts at maintaining relevance, Mario was seemingly pushed aside. Now he and his friends have all been turned into elephants.
You couldn't make this stuff up if you tried. But it's great, it's amazing, and deserves all the praising. What memories we made in the time that we played Super Mario Bros. Wonderland.
The visuals are positively excellent. The animations had me grinning ear to ear. So by now to all I think it's evident that this should have won Game of the Year.
Or Spider-Man 2, I would have been fine with either. Up yours, Baldur's Gate. For that matter, how is this game not nominated for Best Art Direction? Like, how could games with swamp water filters and generic visuals look more interesting? Did Jeff Keighley drop his glasses on a sewer or something?
Marc! You good?
Yeah, sorry. I'm still a little bitter about that. But we're getting a new Crazy Taxi, so that's good. What a year we've had. The greatest band of all time put out their final single. The most beautiful Ken from the Barbie movie became the face of Doctor Who, and a bunch of idiots got mad about it. And Zack and Cody finally got to make their reservation. I hope it was worth it. But for fans of a certain mustachioed Italian plumber, which I guess is canon again, this was one of the most exciting and promising times in the franchise's history. Not only did we have the surprisingly excellent Super Mario Bros. Movie back in April, but we also got the Super Mario RPG remake just last month, and in 2024, we're getting Princess Peach Showtime, and even more remakes with Mario vs. Donkey Kong, Luigi's Mansion 2, and Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door?
Wowie zowie!
Yes! They finally listened to me! Suffice to say, the future of Mario has never looked brighter. We're gonna be eating good for a long time. And to think 10 years ago, I never could have seen any of this coming. That was during the Wii U and 3DS era, which, in my opinion, was one of the worst times to be a Mario fan.
Well, there was the occasional bright spot, like Mario Kart 8 or Super Mario Maker, but for the most part, Mario games seem to be on a noticeable decline. While some games I think were just a victim of bad timing, like Super Mario 3D World, others either played things too safe or were just straight up bad.
Fortunately, Super Mario Odyssey came along in 2017 to essentially bring Mario out of his creative slump, and almost single-handedly restored my faith in the franchise. But a return to form for 3D Mario just wasn't enough for me. Now I needed the Switch to deliver on some equally fantastic 2D Mario action. Little did I know it would take another 6 years for that to come to fruition, because this wasn't gonna cut it.
With all the announcements we got over the course of 2023, it really feels like we're in the beginning of a new golden age for Mario. And while the movie was certainly a great time, if you ask us, Super Mario Bros. Wonder was what really made it official. It was only formally revealed back in June of this year, but even then, I don't think a Mario game ever gave us so much to be excited about right out of the gate, not even Odyssey. It's the first actually new mainline 2D Mario game to come out since New Super Mario Bros. U back in 2012. It has a refreshing new art style, tons of playable characters, trippy visuals, and some classic nightmare fuel.
And to address the elephant in the room, this game also marks the debut of Kevin F. Gunny as the voices of Mario and Luigi, replacing Charles Martinet after over 30 years. Now, following in the footsteps of such an iconic figure would obviously be daunting for anybody in Kevin's position, especially considering he's only in his late 20s, which is more or less the same age that Charles was when he auditioned for the role of Mario back in the early 90s. He's a Mario fan like us, though, so I don't think he needs me to remind him how daunting it is. But because he's a Mario fan like us, he knows we want Mario and Luigi to sound like themselves. And it's definitely different.
Kevin's clearly doing impressions of Charles' voices, while also kind of putting his own spin on the characters. But while the differences are obvious to people like us, it's never too obvious to the point where it becomes distracting. Unless it's the Mario 64 DS minigame in WarioWare Move It.
Honestly, I've stopped thinking about it pretty quickly after starting this game, and casual players might not even realize it's a different voice actor unless you told them. It feels strange living in a time where Charles is no longer voicing Mario in the games, even if he's still going to be around, just in a different capacity. And Kevin's versions of these characters are going to take some getting used to, but I'm sure he'll get better as he settles into the roles more.
Well, either way, congratulations, Kevin. We wish you the best, and enjoy this biscuit.
Yeah, it just occurred to me now that this is the 9th Christmas special I've done since I first stumbled my way into making game reviews. And while Mario-related topics for us to cover are far from being in short supply, these are the ones I can't help but stress myself out over the most, because I worry that eventually I won't have anything special enough left to cover for the holidays. So, thank you, Nintendo gods, for coming to my rescue once again and blessing us with Super Mario Bros. Wonder. The hype for this game was like Super Mario Odyssey all over again, at least for me. I was so excited that I even dragged my partner along to the official Nintendo New York launch party. I met so many great people there, and we had such an incredible time. That's where I got my copy of the game, along with these stickers, a double-sided poster, a lanyard, a framed art print, and this adorable little Elephant Mario keychain. I don't know what to do with all this stuff, but regardless, I will cherish it forever. Writing the script for this video was both surprisingly and unsurprisingly pretty difficult, and that's only because there's so much to this game that I just didn't know where to start or where to stop. But even though the game's been out for a few months now, there's a chance that some of you watching weren't able to get it at launch like I did. For that reason, we're letting you know now that there are going to be spoilers all over the place. So if you somehow manage to avoid watching gameplay or emulating leaked ROMs of it, and you don't want to know anything before trying it out yourself, stop watching now, and then come back to this video after you finish the game. Unless you're Marcy, in which case you're stuck here.
Yeah, I haven't played this game yet.
Yeah, that still surprises me. What's up with that?
Well, since it's normal for us to skip Halloween and go straight into the winter holidays, I've spent the last 2 months baking Christmas cookies to last us until next year.
That explains why you smell more like chocolate and cinnamon than usual. So wait, you just locked yourself in the kitchen for 2 months making cookies?
Yep, and I do it again because I'm the queen of sweets.
Well, here you go, your sweetness. You get to play along.
Why do you have so many screenshots of Wii Fit trainers?
Hey, let's get into the story. Okay, so the game takes place in the Flower Kingdom, which is apparently just across from the Mushroom Kingdom, as you can tell from the hills and mushroom platforms in the background. So it's like Gotham and Metropolis in the DCEU. Mario and his friends, and him, are invited by the Flower Kingdom's ruler, Prince Florian, to attend some kind of special event.
I guess only bad guys are allowed to have higher titles in the Mario universe. Unless you're a giant bee.
Apparently. But before whatever the ceremony entails can happen, Bowser crashes the party and tries to grab this thing called a Wonder Flower, which causes him to merge with Florian's castle and take on one of the coolest and craziest forms he's ever had. And it seems like rock music is officially part of his aesthetic now. Thanks, Jack Black. Despite how awesome this is, Castle Bowser now has access to Wonder Power, and while his plan isn't really made clear, from what I can tell, he wants to gather more power to release a giant wonder effect that causes everyone in the universe to dance to his music. I mean, if that's all he wants, he could make things simpler for himself by just stealing the Doom Dancer music box. But yeah, like always, Bowser's up to no good, and Mario and the gang have to stop him. Oh, and I love the way Yellow Yoshi looks at the Nabbit here like he's saying, wait, you're in this game too? Still?
It's always nice to see Nintendo stray from the Bowser captures the princess scenario, but what exactly did Florian and the people of the Flower Kingdom do to make him so mad? Is it because they look like characters from Doki Doki Panic?
The Poplins? You know what, I can see that. But maybe he really just hates those talking flowers. Yes, that's actually what they're called. Very creative. These are native to the Flower Kingdom and appear in every single level to give comments, cheer you on during races and challenges, clue you in on aspects of the stage design, or just say anything because talking is all they know how to do. It's weird for me knowing that they're voiced by Mick Wingert because all I know him for is doubling Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark in the Marvel animated shows. I love these little guys though. They're just living their best lives. And they don't have tsundere voices, so that's good.
Tsundere's in a Mario game? That was actually going to be a thing?
Yes. That wasn't even their craziest idea. No joke. Check out all the developer interviews and tell me they weren't taking more drugs than usual. But let's say you don't know how to have fun, and because of that, you can't stand hearing their voices. And maybe you hate the Marvels. Come on, it was fine, just chill out. Well, anyway, if you want to shut them up, you can go into the options menu and turn their voices off. Be forewarned, they'll get a little pissy about it.
Oh, was it something I said?
I love this game so much. Now, gameplay-wise, Super Mario Bros. Wonder is obviously a 2.5D side-scroller like the new Super Mario Bros. Series, but as you might imagine, this one shakes up the 2D Mario formula in both the biggest and smallest of ways.
Well, it still has lives. That kind of seems like a step backwards from Odyssey, doesn't it?
A little bit, but like in Yoshi's Island, stages don't have time limits anymore, so you're free to roam around as much as you like. There's also no scoring system or points of any kind. Instead, killing enemies and racking up combos gives you words like good, great, fantastic, none of which can be used to describe me or my videos.
Aww. Well, there's another for the self-loathing jar. From what I've played so far, I noticed that there doesn't seem to be a super guide or invincibility leaf like most other recent games.
Yeah, if you die too many times in a stage, you just gotta keep at it until you get better, which I appreciate. That kind of mentality is much more encouraging than having a computer-controlled Luigi go through the stage for you, or the game just saying screw it and taking you right to the goal. At the start of each stage, you might also get little tips and trivia at the bottom of the screen relating to aspects of the gameplay, or more often than not, the characters. Some of it is stuff we already know, like how Luigi's taller but slightly younger than Mario, or how Peach is the princess of the Mushroom Kingdom. But the developers also took this as an opportunity to confirm and or debunk countless rumors related to the franchise. So now we know for sure that the mushrooms are part of the Toad's heads and not just big hats, and that the only noteworthy thing about Toadette is her pigtails and nothing else. Oh, come on, I could have told you that. Speaking of which, Super Mario Bros. Wonder has a grand total of 12 playable characters to choose from, although most of them play exactly the same, so the differences between them are purely cosmetic. I'm thrilled that Daisy's been brought back into the main series after being relegated to spin-offs for most of her life, but only the Yoshis and the Nabbit get any unique attributes. The Yoshis can flutter jump, eat enemies, hold objects in their mouths, while making the most ridiculous faces I've ever seen Yoshis make.
I'm Big Boss. I'm Big Boss. I want to be Big Boss.
And in co-op, they can be ridden on, and presumably have their backs broken. Neither they or the Nabbit can use power-ups or take damage, but Yoshis still get knocked back from touching enemies and hazards, which led to some pretty annoying deaths, while the Nabbit doesn't flinch at all when taking hits, so he's basically the easy mode character.
So, Mario, Luigi, Peach, Daisy, and the Toads are all just skin swaps of each other?
Basically, yeah. And that was an aspect of the game that I initially had a hard time coming to grips with, but they can at least still use power-ups. Classic ones like the Super Mushroom, the Fire Flower, and the Superstar are all here and accounted for, though the latter also lets you draw in coins now, like in Super Mario Run. But obviously, we've got some new ones too, like the Elephant Fruit, which turns your character into either their cutest or most cursed form.
Oh my. This Babar reboot isn't what I thought it would be.
As an elephant, you can break through brick blocks more easily, run across large gaps, and use your trunk to knock enemies back or spray water to rejuvenate dying flower buds, or make poplins bloom at the end of a level if you still have some left. I love doing this, it's so cute. There's also the Bubble Flower, which lets you blow bubbles to trap enemies inside of and turn into coins, or jump off of like bouncy platforms. Then there's the Drill Mushroom, which is one of my new favorite Mario power-ups of all time. It's kind of like the Spin Drill in Galaxy 2, only it lets you burrow underground and into the ceiling. It's great for reaching smaller secret areas and killing enemies from below since you also get a little drill on your head. God, I love this thing. Of course, the star of the show is the Wonder Flower, which appears in almost every single stage and can make almost anything happen. Now, before this game came out, I made sure to avoid watching gameplay and didn't bat an eye when the game's ROM leaked online. Also, whoever keeps doing that shit, stop it. Get some help. So you can imagine how I reacted seeing these wonder effects take place for the first time. Not all of them were very exciting or interesting, but I definitely wasn't expecting King Boo to appear and flex his opera muscles.
Just a shame it's not the real King Boo. But maybe it's good that I haven't played this until now, because not knowing what's going to happen makes these wonder effects a lot of fun to experience.
Exactly. Like, you might get chased by a cosmic clone from the Galaxy games. You might walk on walls. You might ride on the backs of bulrushes as they ram through the flagpole in the foreground, while the ones in the background move at a lower frame rate. You might witness warp pipes come to life and move around like inchworms. You might inflate like a balloon, insert obligatory DeviantArt joke here. You might turn into a puffy lift, or a spike ball, or a Goomba that can't jump for shit, or a slime creature that can move across walls and ceilings during sections that remind you of an indie game that you just can't put your finger on and aren't sure if it really exists or not. You might get Super Mario Land 2 flashbacks from floating through space and avoiding spiky hazards. You might suddenly get hit with another dose of nostalgia when your character takes on a metal form and the classic Metal Mario music from Mario 64 starts playing. That was certainly a pleasant surprise.
Well, it would have been for me if you hadn't spoiled it.
Oh, yeah, sorry. But one of the things I loved most about games like Mario 2, Mario Run, and even 3D World was utilizing every character's individual abilities. And at first, I didn't like that Mario Wonder took them away because I felt they were sacrificing what made characters like Luigi and Peach so unique in those other games, just so players wouldn't have to fight over who gets to be who. Of course, I understand why they did this, plus it would be kinda redundant with the badge system, which I do think is a great compromise. Now, normally I am galactically incapable of thinking about anything other than Paper Mario when badges are mentioned in any capacity.
And you're doing it now, aren't you?
Equipping your character with badges can give them different attributes and let them utilize all sorts of different abilities, like using a cap as a parachute, changing into specific forms no matter what power-ups you grab, jumping higher and kicking your legs slightly while in the air.
Wait a minute, that's Luigi's thing. So, are they also taking character abilities from the previous games and turning them into badges?
I guess so. Like, the crouching high jump is basically the charge jump from Mario 2 USA. The safety bounce, which automatically propels you upward when falling down a pit, is the same as Peachette's mid-air boost from New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe. You don't get Peach's floating ability or even Daisy's double jump from Mario Run, but with all the other abilities badges can give you, at this point, I really don't care anymore. This is genuinely one of the best mechanics ever put into a Mario game. A lot of these badges are really fun to use, and while you can only equip one per level, it's not really a bad thing since it would break the game in half, like an iPhone 15. Viva la Android! Badges come in 3 different varieties. First, there are the action badges that grant you new abilities, like the Dolphin Kick, which gives you a brief burst of speed while underwater. Then there are boost badges that do things like generate exclamation blocks to act as extra platforms, reward you with coins for defeating enemies, and alert you when special items are nearby. Then there are the expert badges, which are the hardest to get, the hardest to master, and in the case of the invisibility badge, the hardest to even think about using willingly. Of these, the jet run was the trickiest for me to work around. It makes you run super fast, but using it threw me off a lot since you go so fast that running off ledges keeps you in midair for a short time like a Looney Tunes cartoon, so you can jump farther. The action badges are definitely the most fun to mess around with, the climbing wall jump being my absolute favorite. This thing is amazing. The boosting spin jump is great too. It's like a second spin jump that you can do in midair, and not like that little twirl you do to stay in the air longer. One that I was really excited to use was the grappling vine, but I found it pretty underwhelming. I thought it was going to be like the grappling hook in SteamWorld Dig or something, but you can only fire it left or right and not above or below you.
Did you mention SteamWorld Dig just so you can play it to get footage again?
Are you kidding? If I see an opportunity, I will pounce!
And you pounce! And you pounce!
Badge abilities can be performed by either shaking the controller or pressing the R or ZR buttons. At first I found this kind of annoying, but only when I would try spinning in midair while I had a badge equipped that prevented me from doing so, like the parachute cap. Plus, with how useful I found a lot of these badges to be, the mid-air spin just became more and more secondary. But you can make your character look up.
Instant 10 out of 10.
They made some other slight adjustments to the controls that only people like Marcy and I would really care about. Y and B are respectively mapped to run and jump by default, while the A button releases the power-up from your inventory. Ouch! Damn it. The ZL button now acts as an alternate crouch button, again like the 3D games, and the X button, rather than act as a secondary run button, now makes emojis appear over your head. This will make a little more sense later, I promise.
Well, most of the characters might share the same physics, but at least they feel good to control.
True. In fact, I don't know if this is because I haven't played the new Super Mario Bros. Games in a while, but the physics here are the smoothest, tightest, and best I've felt in a 2D Mario game since Super Mario World. I legitimately had no issues with how they handle, only with my controller, since I'm pretty sure the left stick on this thing is finally starting to wear out on me.
Well, you could just use the D-pad.
On a Pro controller? Oh, you're adorable. Super Mario Bros. Wonder is also unique in that much of its design was influenced not just by Mario's previous 2D adventures, but by his 3D adventures as well. Only it doesn't have the triple jump. The developers even brought in people that worked on the 3D games, like Koichi Hayashida, to guide them on how to flesh out certain aspects. So if 3D Land and 3D World were 3D Mario games that played like 2D Mario games, then Super Mario Bros. Wonder is a 2D Mario game that plays like a 3D Mario game. It's much more non-linear for one thing. Past 2D adventures gave you some control over how you got through them, but with this game, after the first few levels of Pipe Rock Plateau, you're free to complete nearly every single following stage in whatever order you please. And even though some specific levels still need to be cleared for you to progress, you're not forced to get to them right away. So you don't have to worry about breezing through one stage, struggling to get through the next stage, and then breezing through the one after that.
So, if you feel you're not ready to take on harder levels, you can go through easier levels first and save the tougher ones for later?
Yeah. What helps is that, like in Mario Maker 2's story mode, levels also have difficulty ratings now, giving you a better sense of how easy or hard they might be. I think this is really cool, and with the game's more open-ended structure, it's great in helping you determine which levels to beat first and which to skip for the time being. This approach isn't just refreshing, but it also takes all the pacing issues that plagued many of the 2D games that came before and punts them into the 8th dimension. Back to the 3D comparisons, Super Mario Bros. Wonder doesn't just require you to reach the end of each stage, it also has you collecting Wonder Seeds, which act as the game's Power Stars / Shine Sprites / Green Stars / Power Moons. You earn them in various ways, mainly by clearing the Wonder Effects sections and touching the flagpole.
Huh. For a game with so much imagination, you'd think they'd come up with something more creative than just going with the flagpole again.
Yeah, but then we have the Royal Seeds, which act like the Grand Stars from the Galaxy games. These are needed to get rid of the cloud piranhas surrounding Bowser and ultimately go inside him. I really wish there was a better way to word that. Wonder Seeds are also vital to progression since they're needed to unlock certain levels on the world map, including the palace stages where you fight Bowser Jr. And not a single Koopaling, so I guess they got grounded. One thing I really appreciate, though, is these little indicators in the upper left corner. They show you how many levels need seeds to be unlocked in a given world, and how many seeds you'll need to unlock them. It's small, but I think it's a great feature. No more getting ready to take on certain levels and then getting pissed off when you realize you don't have enough MacGuffins to even get in. The world maps in general are some of the best in the main series. They're not as interconnected as Super Mario World or New Super Mario Bros. U, and themes are still somewhat traditional, but I would argue that there are still just enough distinct elements to help make them feel less tired and rehashed. Some worlds combine level themes, like how Fluff Puff Peak serves as the snow, mountain, and sky world. Others, like Petal Isles, don't even need levels to match the theme, like it can have beach levels and cave levels. It reminds me a lot of Galaxy 2 and 3D World in that regard.
Ooh, I love how Petal Isles is the center of the Flower Kingdom while the other worlds circle around it like the petals on a flower.
Wow, I totally missed that the first time around. That's fantastic. Backtracking has also been greatly streamlined. In other games, you would have to pick a world to go back to and walk all the way to the level you want to replay. And nothing's stopping you from doing that in this game, except the new fast travel system, which makes it completely pointless since you could just scroll through a list of courses on the menu, pick the one you want, and then there you are. Sometimes finding more stages and going through them even becomes a game in itself, like how Sunbaked Desert has levels appear from mirages or hides them behind doors that need to be opened by touching magic floor tiles in a specific order. Your means of getting royal seeds might differ as well. Most worlds require you to beat Bowser Jr. in order to obtain them, but in Shining Falls, Master Poplin gives you one for completing his trials, and in Fungi Mines you get one from rescuing Poplins trapped in an underground cave.
Side note, the Flower Kingdom has a world called Fungi Mines, and the Mushroom Kingdom doesn't.
Try to work that one out. But as you'd expect, every single world gives you plenty of other things to do. Occasionally, and by that I mean 3 times, you might even cross paths with Captain Toad, for some reason, who gives you flower coins when you find him. What is it with Mario games and purple coins? These things are everywhere, and you can give them to Poplins to have them fix bridges or break through rocks to let you reach other parts of the map, or use flower coins to purchase things like Wonder Seeds, boost badges, and extra lives from the Poplin shops. One thing Poplin shops don't sell, however, is power-ups. You mostly just get them from normal levels, and for a 2D Mario game, I find that a little bizarre.
Huh. That is weird. These games have almost always had different means of stocking up on power-ups. That way, if need be, you can give yourself a little pick-me-up if things get too intense.
Yeah, like a glass of fa or life. But no, Mario Wonder doesn't really have any convenient ways of grabbing power-ups outside of the main levels. And initially, this didn't bother me, but after a while, I couldn't help but ask, where are my Toad houses at? Yeah, geographically, it wouldn't make sense for them to be in this game, but I wish there was at least some kind of equivalent, like an item shop where you could use regular coins to buy additional power-ups. I mean, come on, if all the other kingdoms in Odyssey can accept non-regional coins as a secondary form of currency, why can't the Flower Kingdom? But anyway, at certain points, Kamek will show up and use his magic to make these flying battleships appear, forcing you to take them down before going any further. It's a fun way to work airships into the game, and all you gotta do is hit this big red button to shut them down.
Ooh, look! They got enemies on assembly lines. Kinda reminds me of the queue for the Mario Kart ride at Super Nintendo World.
In between the main levels, you can also partake in challenge levels. Wiggler races are, just as their name implies, races against a Wiggler. But he gives you Wonder Seeds, and even a badge at one point if you beat him.
Well, at least he's a good sport.
Badge challenges require you to use one specific badge, and only that badge, to reach the goal. Search party levels have you looking for wonder tokens by solving puzzles and uncovering secrets, and break time stages are shorter and easier challenges that keep you in the zone but don't stress you out as much. Unlike the KO arenas, these are like mini versions of the Pit of 100 Trials from Paper Mario in that you have to kill all the enemies in each room to make it to the end. The real challenge comes from clearing them under a specific time in order to get all 3 of these big flower coins that are worth 10 of them and also serve as additional collectibles like the star coins in New Super Mario Bros. So you have to use the right combination of power-ups and badges in order to get them. This can make achieving perfect runs on the first go a little tough. I managed to do it for the first couple, but later arenas had me trying more than once, one of which I cleared by just a few milliseconds.
Oh shoot, that's cutting it real close.
Yeah, when it comes to the level design, Super Mario Bros. Wonder is truly built different. If you were expecting this to be another simple ride like other recent 2D entries, then you'd might as well be Mr. Wrong, or Miss Wrong, or whatever the non-binary equivalent of Mr. and Miss is. Wrong. There are times where the game will encourage you to think outside the box and look for things in places that you wouldn't expect to be there. It's also not afraid to become a completely different game at whatever time it needs to, like in Ninja Jump Party, as well as the final Bowser stage, where it just turns into Rhythm Heaven, or in stages where you move between the background and the foreground, where it turns into Mutant Muds and Virtual Boy Wario Land, I guess. And there is no way you can tell me that the developers weren't looking at the Mario Maker community for some inspiration, because with how involved a lot of these levels can be, it's impossible not to get Mario Maker vibes from them. One thing's for sure though, this game loves hidden blocks. They're more common than Dunkin' Donuts on the East Coast. Seriously, we love Dunkin'. We love it so much that there's a town in New York that recently just opened a new Dunkin' right next to another Dunkin'.
Wow.
I mean, there's competition, and then there's self-competition. My point is there are lots of hidden blocks in this game, mostly in places that make platforming slightly inconvenient. But there are also hidden blocks unique to each character. They're kind of like the character switches in Super Mario 3D World, only here you can hit them no matter which character you're using. But if you are playing as the corresponding character, you get a small glimpse of the block before actually hitting it. And that's it, really. Some of my favorite stages, though, are the ones that have what I call non-exits, where there's only a flagpole and no poplins or wonder seeds or anything. It throws you for a loop so brilliantly and leaves you thinking, so wait, where's the real exit? We haven't even mentioned the special world yet. There aren't any royal seeds here, but it does contain some of the hardest levels in the game, and they really put you to the test. It's like the special zone in Mario World if you gave it a Mountain Dew Grimace Shake enema.
Marc, please. We lost a lot of people to the Grimace Shake disaster of 2023. Show some respect.
Oh, you're right. My apologies.
Just as I suspected. He is definitely dead.
It took you 45 minutes to come to that conclusion?
Super Mario Bros. Wonder, probably more so than any Mario game before, actively wants you to go against everything you know about the series and rewards you for doing it. It's so quintessentially Mario and yet non-Mario at the same time. It's a beautiful contradiction. It harkens back to when secrets in Mario games were less obvious or predictable. Remember the first time you ever played a Mario game? The first time you touched a power-up or jumped on a Goomba or found a hidden warp zone? Remember how proud you felt for making those discoveries and how exciting and unexpected they were? Probably not if you haven't played Mario games. Well, if you know, you know. And Mario Wonder evokes all those same feelings. There were so many times where I would find something completely by accident and get so giddy when I did. Avoiding spoilers made the experience that much more delightful for me because I really didn't know what was going to happen most of the time. Like, what kind of awkward screen grabs was I going to be shown after every level? Would I see Yellow Yoshi having a staring contest with a tree? Or Luigi standing on a piranha plant's lower lip? Or Elephant Mario getting ready to take a dump in midair? Or... I don't even know what to make of this one. Well, to be fair, I've seen worse. You could not pull me away from this game when I first played it. I beat the whole thing in a weekend, all the way through, 100%, recording over 20 hours of footage from start to finish. And I'm proud to say that I was able to find most of the game's secrets entirely on my own. In fact, I can only recall there being 2 times where I resorted to using a guide. One to find the secret exit in the second level of Pipe Rock Plateau, and I think the other was to beat Operation Poplin Rescue a second time to unlock the path from Fun Guy Mines to the special world, because I guess the Poplins got stuck in that cave again. I can't even leave them alone for 5 minutes, can I? But because of how the game works, whenever I would go back and look for things I missed the first time around, I never questioned how anyone was supposed to find them without using a walkthrough.
Hey, what's up with all these other characters running around? Are they like ghosts or something?
Kinda, sorta. You see, Super Mario Bros. Wonder also has online play, which you can turn on and off by talking to this sentient hotspot named Professor Connect. Here's the basic stuff like getting together with friends and participating in races, which I didn't get to do since nobody else in my inner circle had the game at the time I had to record footage. But the main bulk of the online works differently from something like Mario Maker 2, and not just because it actually works. Everywhere you go, you'll see the shadows of other real-world players, but unlike the Switch version of 3D World, they don't directly affect your progress, and you don't affect theirs. What makes Mario Wonder's online play the best I've experienced in the mainline series, even though not many of these games have it, if at all, is the greater focus on cooperative play rather than competitive play. If you or any other player should die, you'll turn into a ghost. Then they can be revived by touching other live players, or these cute little standees that can be dropped to let people know where someone's been. Genuinely cute, not cute in a Bill Maher trying not to sound like a smug asshole kind of way. You can also release items from your inventory and leave them for other players to grab, but you can't give them to any specific players. That's how Nabbit here was able to grab this item that I meant to give to Peach, which is actually kind of appropriate for the character. Helping anyone in any way gives you heart points, which don't really do anything, certainly not like in the RPGs. They just show how much you've helped other players. Oh, and remember those emojis I mentioned earlier? Well, this is how players communicate online. Use them to express confusion over how to clear a puzzle, or show gratitude to those that give you items, or just spam them for no good reason other than it's totally ridiculous and a lot of fun to do. But if you want real people to join in on the fun, there's still local co-op. First I tried playing with my nephew, who had absolutely no idea what to do or what was going on. Although, maybe I just didn't pick the best levels for us to go through. As for my brother, well, he'll probably be the first to tell you that he's kinda not very good at these games, so our time playing together mostly went like this.
Daddy sing bass. Daddy sing bass. Daddy sing bass.
But we're almost at the end now, so let's quickly talk about the bosses. In another interesting turn for the series, Super Mario Bros. Wonder has no mini-bosses and only two major boss characters, Bowser and Bowser Jr. The latter is fought in the palace levels, like I mentioned earlier, and while they don't start out that great, they get much more interesting when he uses Wonder Power to turn himself into Dark Bowser from the Mario and Luigi series. He also uses it to change the room in different ways, like turning platforms into ice and presumably molasses. I like how he has more control over the Wonder Power than you. It helps make the fights less stale and predictable, even though they're still pretty easy. Then we have the final boss, and first you're thrown into a highlight reel of every major Wonder effect that you've experienced up to now. Then finally you reach Bowser himself, who shows up as a floating head with hands, doing his best Bouldergeist impression. Like the Ninja Disco level, you jump on the fourth beat of the music to jump higher, and you have to do this to hit the switch under Bowser's chin. It's also not that hard like the Bowser Jr. fights, but this is certainly one of the most entertaining final Bowser encounters. Ah, crap.
A few minutes later.
Well, anyway, after changing controllers, we deal the finishing blow and sit through a hilariously drawn-out defeat. Then Bowser loses all his Wonder Power, Prince Florian's castle is restored thanks to the power of the Royal Seeds, and the end credit sequence is another round of Wonder effects that we've seen throughout the game, although it doesn't feel redundant since most of these weren't in the Bowser level. Then after the credits, we see Kamek carrying Bowser and Bowser Jr. by a rope since, I guess, the Koopa Clown car ran out of power. But then they fall to the ground and crash in a puff of smoke shaped like Bowser's insignia. That's excellent.
And we all lived happily ever after.
Up. Shut your trap there, you talking little Hershey Kiss handbell. I said we were only almost at the end.
Really? What else is there to do?
Well, my sweet little gender swap sibling-ish friend, there's still the matter of the special world. You might think it stops at the final test, which itself is yet another gauntlet of Wonder effects, and a rather tricky-dicky one at that. But after collecting all the Wonder Seeds and 10 flower coins and touching the top of every flagpole, you unlock the final test. If the final test was the ultimate Wonder effect challenge, the final test is the ultimate badge challenge, as each section forces you to use a different action badge to get past it. And believe me, this level will kick your nards up into your stomach.
Wolfman's got nards!
It's not uncommon for the true final level in a Mario game to be super difficult, but this is one of the most intense examples of that trope, if not the most. Like I said, I went into Super Mario Bros. Wonder completely blind, so I didn't know what to expect going into this level, and it took me exactly 28 attempts just to beat it. All those deaths really started adding up during the jet run section, by the way. Ugh, such pain. Checkpoints are sparse too, so you can imagine how thrilled I was to finally get past this part, but then die during the invisibility section and respawn at the start of the jet run section again. I'm telling you, this level is brutal. But after 20 minutes and nearly 30 deaths, I finally made it to the end. Sure, I did it with the easiest character, but I don't care because I'm a Super Wonder now.
Wow, you weren't kidding. That was really tough.
Yeah, but look what you got for beating it.
The sound off badge? What does it do?
Equip it and find out.
What the? Is the music a cappella now?
Not quite.
This is amazing!
I know! I was floored when I used this badge for the first time. Like, I'm pretty sure the coin sound is just someone saying, coin? This is hands down the most hilarious completion reward in any Mario game, and it absolutely makes the process of getting it worth it.
Agreed. Hey, what's this?
Oh, those are coin levels. They show up in every world after you beat Bowser. They're short little auto-scrollers with cannons firing coins for you to collect. Apparently you can also play them every time you get a game over, but I never did, so this is all... What? Why are you... Oh. Do it! Who needs the warmth of the holidays when you have the laughter of a Marcy?
Bring, bring.
There's a reason why the word wonderful has been thrown around so much when talking about this game, even though it's the most obvious pun you can make. Because Super Mario Bros. Wonder is absolutely wonderful. Outside of the Mario Maker games, this is the most fun I've had with a 2D Mario game in a very, very long time. It's crazy to me that people thought we didn't need any more 2D Mario games after Mario Maker 1 and 2, but I always knew that more could be done with the formula, and fortunately, Takashi Tezuka felt the same way. So for him and his team to give us a game so bold and fresh and daring and creative and experimental and crazy and weird and imaginative should prove once and for all that Mario hasn't lost his touch. This game is like the ultimate Christmas present 11 years in the making. It challenges the way you think of Mario games without losing sight of what Mario games are supposed to be at their core. It has some of the best, deepest, and most intricately designed levels in the series. The badges are a phenomenal addition and offer so much replay value. It gives you an immense amount of freedom to play it however you like. And frankly, this game is so good, it makes writing about it even more difficult because there are only so many variations of this game is so good that I can say before I start sounding like a broken record.
You're not wrong, though. This game is great. Although, the title screen is a little disappointing. I'm nitpicking, sure, but I like games that do something to get you hyped to play them before jumping in. This is just the game's box art, which we've already seen.
Yeah, but hey, when you beat the game 100%, it changes the background from light to dark theme. So let's talk about the art style, because of everything we've seen in the build-up to the game's release, this was what really took me aback. Trippy visuals aside, this looks unlike any Mario game we've gotten in recent years, and I love it for that. I don't know if this was intentional, but the characters more closely resemble Yoichi Katabe and Shikihisa Nakawe's 2D artwork, which makes me love this game even more. They also have a much wider range of expressions than in other recent 2D games, and I especially love the different animations that play when characters go through warp pipes, like Mario grabbing his hat after leaving it behind, or the elephant forms struggling to fit through. And because you see the characters from a front-facing side angle, it allows their expressions to be more visible. It was a little weird though, seeing things like Mario running in the upper left direction while facing the lower left. Well, at least we don't have to see them from this angle. I also love the little details they added to make the characters' personalities come through. Like in the opening cutscene, when Bowser arrives, Mario's ready to fight, Luigi's terrified, Peach is annoyed, Toadette's surprised, and even though there are multiple Toads and Yoshis of different colors, nothing about them feels copy and paste. They have their own unique poses on the character select screen, they have different voice clips, and different poses for their standees. I don't know, I just find it admirable. I also love these little cutscenes that play after getting a Royal Seed. These just scream Super Mario World and left the biggest, dopiest serial killer smiles on my face every time they played. You know what else I admire about this game? It doesn't seem to rely on nostalgic callbacks as much as other recent games. They're definitely there, they're just not in your face, for the most part. Many of the characters' jumping poses are ripped straight from the classic games. The KO arenas sample music from the original Mario Bros. Arcade game. They brought back the rotating blocks from Super Mario World, which I was not expecting. You might occasionally even have your ears tickled by some familiar tunes. The mini-boss music from Mario 3 is always nice to hear, and you can never go wrong with Mario World's bonus room theme.
Love that sound.
So do I.
Oh yeah, they also snuck in a few tracks from Sunshine. That's always nice to... You okay, Marc?
What? Oh. Sorry. Bad memories. But since we're talking about the music, I'm not gonna lie, the soundtrack as a whole didn't really leave that much of an impression on me. It sounds very nice and is well produced. Some of it even kind of gave me some Paper Mario vibes, which I liked. But it's much more incidental and atmospheric than most 2D Mario soundtracks, and I think it comes off as less memorable because of it. A few tracks stood out to me though. At first I thought the main theme was just okay, but it's really grown on me since the game's reveal. I also like how the underground theme is a much less straightforward arrangement. The melody's more hinted at than just plain recycled. Bowser Jr.'s battle theme, though? Sweet toe beans, this track is funky as hell. And hell is known to be very funky. It's probably my favorite song in the game. It just slaps. But lest we forget Piranha Plants on Parade, another fantastic little sequence that shows Nintendo at their most Nintendo. And this might be a stretch, but do you think this is secretly a callback to that Japanese Super Mario RPG commercial with the claymation singing Piranha Plants? Maybe so, maybe not, but in my head I know I'm right. What I love most about the audio design is the way music and sound blend together. There's a drum roll while you perform a ground pound that ends with a crash cymbal on impact. Every character gets their own jumping sound, and they're performed by a sliding guitar string. Warp pipe sounds are done with marimbas. Heavy brass is added when you're in your elephant form.
But I have a question.
I have an answer.
Is it better than Super Mario World? Because lots of people seem to think it's the best 2D Mario game, and we've been building this one up a lot. It's not, is it?
Nope.
Should have seen that coming.
I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a phenomenal game. The best 2D Mario I've played in years. But it's kind of like how Matt Reeves' The Batman is technically the best Batman movie ever made, but Mask of the Phantasm is still my favorite. Am I being biased? Of course I am, but you know, with how much this game relies on the element of surprise, and seeing as it's already been out for a while now, I'm kind of worried that at some point, once people have managed to see every wonder effect and find every secret, the game might lose a bit of its appeal. But while Super Mario Odyssey kinda suffered the same fate, I think it still holds up because the gameplay is so solid and it's still incredibly satisfying to play. Mario Wonder can survive in the same way, but only time will tell.
It's impossible to ignore all the challenges that come with each passing year, and this one especially had some dark and depressing curveballs to throw at us. But through all the loss, the conflict, the division, and the fear, as always, it's important to try and find the light through the darkness. The start of a new year means celebrating how much you've grown, and remembering to hold on to hope as you move forward. And as Mario fans, we can tell you for a fact that sometimes hoping for something makes it all the more rewarding when it eventually comes to pass.
Are these end-of-year speeches just going to be a regular thing for you in these Christmas specials?
Well, you're the writer, so I guess so.
Got me there. Well, I love this game, and I'm glad I got to share it with you guys.
Aw, thanks! And happy holidays, everybody!
Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna snag me some of those famous Marcy-made Christmas cookies.
Wait, don't go in the kitchen! I love baking too much.
Haldo, happy holidays, everybody. And as always, a very special thank you to our superstar supporters, Red Rack, Henry Newman, and Jake Winans.
This recording has been the hardest I have ever laughed. My ribs are so sore, but it was so worth it to get to see all these amazing clips.
Yeah, like when we reacted to Sound Off Batch, I actually did show her the clips. So the laughter that you heard in that scene, that is real.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like that.
But yeah, 2024 is going to be an interesting year. There is a lot to look forward to.
I can't wait for Princess Peach Showtime. Oh my gosh, I just can't wait to experience this and all the other games that are coming out. And of course, Thousand Year Door, you will not be doing that video without me.
I think that's going to be next year's Christmas special.
Yeah.
I am so excited to get to that. I want to try and put out more videos next year. That's my big New Year's resolution. The output this year was just really slow because of a lot of issues on my end that I had to resolve in terms of like the insurance stuff and the medication and job hunting. All that has since been resolved, so right now I'm very comfortable where I am, and I look forward to what the new year has to offer. But yeah, I hope everybody watching this is having or has had a fantastic holiday season. Whatever holiday you celebrate, Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Ramadan, whatever it is, I hope you made the best of it. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got to spend it with all your friends, family, and loved ones. And here's hoping that the new year brings even more positivity your way, or any if you didn't really get much out of this year.
I felt that.
I'm not sure exactly when we'll see each other again, but until that day comes, this is Mark.
And Marcy.
Wishing you all a happy holidays, bidding you all a smashing farewell. Be good, behave, be safe, and we'll see you in 2024.
Happy New Year. Bye-bye.
Bye.